What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back. Today I have a video that's going to be a little bit more about myself and kind of where things are going, because I think there's a lot of guys out there that need this little bit of momentum right now. If you feel like you are working, you feel like you are grinding and you're not getting anywhere, understand that it's not going to happen right away. And for most of us, it's probably not going to happen for a while. In a world where you're constantly being told that, why are you being different, bro? What are you doing? Why are you going to bed so early? Why aren't you drinking with us? Why aren't you eating with us? You are going to live in a society that, as the years go on, the gap between the haves and the have-nots is going to steadily, there's a bigger gap between those people. And either you're elite or you're nothing. We are getting to a society where the middle class is going to be no longer. The middle class people are not going to be in existence, because the middle class is either going to separate itself into the higher end, which becomes rich, or they are going to get poor, and they are not going to adapt to the new reality of the world that we live in. And I think this is especially important for the men out there, because at the end of the day, this world, as a man, you are either lesser than or more than the man next to you. And that's a hard reality to accept, because we live in a world today where everybody wants to be equal, where everybody's the same, and everybody, let's all come together and kumbaya. And we know deep down, if you live in the real world, you know that's not reality. And even your buddies, everybody, your friends, your family, everybody, you are in competition for the life that everybody deep down wants. Now the question is, are they willing to go out and go after it, is the other question. And a lot of guys are saying that the juice is not worth the squeeze. The difficulty of life has gotten to the point where I no longer want to compete, and I'm out. And I understand why. And we're going to talk about that. But I think it's also important to remember, if you don't go after those things, if you don't put yourself out there for failure, for success, do difficult things every day that challenge you, if you just decide that you're not going to do that, which is fine, what are you going to do instead? Because at the end of the day, we're all going to die. We're all going to end up not being here anymore. And in the job that I do, which maybe I'll talk about in another video in the future, I see a lot of death. Kids, adults, grandparents, fathers, mothers, everybody on the list. You don't know when your day is going to be. And when you look back, if you were to die tomorrow, which hopefully you don't, if you died tomorrow, what would people think of you? Would people even care? I think that's something that, if you're the person that just decides that you're going to play video games, that, chasing after having a life of having a nice house and a family and all that stuff, I can understand why you don't want that. But what are you going to do instead? And do you even care about having a legacy? And maybe that doesn't matter. But then why are you here? I always look at it like, there's a reason why we're all here. There's a reason why everyone is in the place that they're at right now. And to certain points, you have control over that. But if you're going to be the person that doesn't do anything, what do you have to show for yourself? Do you have any pride in anything? Do you have any ambitions, any drive? Or are you just content being homeless, maybe living in a one-bedroom studio apartment, and you're content with that? I think it's a question that you got to really ask yourself, because I think saying the juice isn't worth the squeeze, I totally agree for the most part. And a lot of people on the channel have actually criticized me. Why are you talking about this like, like it's worth it anymore? And that's fine. I don't even disagree with you, but what are you going to do instead? I think the more people that start asking that question start to realize that, I look back even in my life at 25 years old, that the worst days of my life were the days where I didn't have a job. Because I had nothing to work toward. I wasn't building my money. I wasn't doing anything. And maybe if you don't have a regular quote unquote 9 to 5 job or something like that, if you're building a business or doing something else or building a skill, then that's fine. And I advocate for that, actually, more importantly than having the 9 to 5 job, especially in 2026. But if you're going to quit your job, just don't do nothing. Because once you get into that stagnant state, it's going to be a lot harder for you to go back into the real world. And the longer that you're in that situation, it's that much more difficult for you to get out. It's harder for you to get reemployed when you're unemployed. It's just psychologically for yourself, putting yourself back out there when you've been closing yourself off for too long. It all culminates on itself. And that's where I want to round third here, because at the end of the day, life sucks. Life is difficult. We all go through our struggles. Not everyone's going to talk about it, but everyone's going through shit. And the real question is, what are you going to do about it? Especially for guys today, I mean, it is really stacked against you. Everything. And even in my own life, I see it. I see it at work. I see it on the way home from work, on the way to work, even at home. So what are you going to do to change that? Or put yourself in a situation where that's no longer the case? Because what else do you have to be here for? And that's how I look at everything. Like, at the end of the day, if the alternative to working a job is doing nothing, I think you're better off working a job. Because at least you have something to take pride in. Even if it's a job that you hate, but there's actually a benefit to society from it, that's still better than doing nothing. And I think that the real motivation, I think the best thing to do, if you are somebody that is having a really tough life, is to work a really shit job that you absolutely hate. And that will be enough motivation for you to do something else on the side and be like, I want to make money doing something else, making money on my own. But you're never truly going to get to that point unless you're working a job that kills you physically, emotionally, mentally. Sometimes it's going to take that in order for you to get to that point where you actually do something. And I think really some of the toughest parts of my life, I had my old hockey YouTube channel, which I loved. And the reason I am where I am today is because of that channel. But I think that gap I had between that channel and this channel was really difficult for me, because I just always like putting myself out there, making myself uncomfortable, building something. And I think for a lot of guys today, they're just not building anything. They're not building a business. They're not building a YouTube channel. They're not doing anything. And I understand what that's like, because when I didn't have a YouTube channel, I kind of felt that way. I get it. And I figured that was something I just wanted to talk to you guys about today. Just do something, and even if you have a really shit job, even if you're doing something you absolutely hate, like find some fire from that. Find the good in that. To maybe that's this current situation really sucks, and now I'm going to do something that's going to make me greater and better than I am right now. And I think once you get to that point, that's when you're going to see the world really change in your favor, and you're probably going to be a lot happier with how things are going. So keep that in mind. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time.